And welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk on this April 14th, a Monday in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's an exciting one all across our city because of, let me pull up the right camera and then you'll be able to see it. It is 414 Day here in the great city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as we get ready to take you around the city, around the area for you on this day. Of course, it relates to the area code, 414 the area code, so April 14th, 414 Day becomes a celebration not just here in Milwaukee, but throughout the state of Wisconsin for the largest population center in the entire state. You can see the flag above City Hall, the American flag. If this camera was tilted a little farther down, you would see a giant 414 flag in black and white that they unfurl each and every year. Have been doing it now for 6 years, and it's out there again today if you're driving around downtown Milwaukee. Over the next hour here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, we're going to take you all around the city, all across the state for a number of things, including the news live as it happens. We were hoping to catch the tail end of this for you, but unfortunately, this is just wrapped up. This was down in Texas, the funeral services for the late George Foreman, an iconic boxing legend, of course, part of the Rumble of the Jungle and going on to such business success as well. That was the ceremony and funeral services, a celebration of life for an icon in the sports world, George Foreman. Since that just wrapped up, though, we're going to take you instead over to Florida, the Goddard Space Center, where a series of U.S. senators are speaking right now outside of NASA headquarters. We want to check in on a momentous day for spaceflight here in Milwaukee. The Blue Origin launch this morning included 6 females on board, blasting off from Houston, Texas, from Texas, West Texas, for a 10 or 11-minute ride. Now we are seeing a series of U.S. senators speaking outside of NASA headquarters, the Goddard Space Flight Center. Let's listen in to what they're talking about live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
But the next big follow-on project is Habitable Worlds, which, as the name suggests, is an effort to look for life elsewhere in the universe, to determine if it's there. It was the top recommendation, Habitable Worlds, of the National Academy of Sciences Decadal Survey. So every decade, the National Academy of Sciences decides what projects are most important to U.S. leadership in space.
Right.
They chose the Habitable Worlds project.
Maybe I'll send an email.
As their #1 priority. That is going to be headquartered here at NASA Goddard. So the Trump budget also proposes to close that down, among others. Let me just end with this. We were just talking to some of the great scientists here who told us that they were inspired to become NASA scientists and Goddard scientists because of their exposure to science growing up. They have 400 interns every year here at NASA Goddard. So when you pull the plug on major space science, it's like eating your seed corn. It is so damaging to our entire ecosystem when it comes to American leadership and innovation in this area. So we will fight these proposed cuts every step of the way. And I do believe and hope that we'll have bipartisan support in pushing back against these proposals. And with that, let me introduce somebody who has been a leader on the House Appropriations Committee for a very, very long time, and the Dean of the Delegation, Steny Hoyer. Steny?
Thank you very much, Senator. I had the great privilege of representing Goddard for 42 years. So I've been here a lot. And I know the extraordinary work that goes on here. The extraordinary work that we cannot predict the specific advances that this will make in science and technology and the economic impact it will have. But we do know from the many past years of NASA that they will occur, even though we may not know them specifically. I am pleased to join Glenn Ivey, who now represents this area. But he and I think Prince George's County as a unit, not as a single or 2 units. And we represent them together. And I am so glad to be on Team Ivey with respect to Goddard Space Flight Center. Let me say, I was a colleague of Bill Nelson's. Some of you may remember Senator Nelson. Senator Nelson served in the House of Representatives, and I served with him. And he then went to the United States Senate. And then he went to space. He was the senator in space. And he came back, and he was one of the great proponents, not only of Goddard Space Flight Center, but all of the NASA components. And then, of course, he became the administrator of NASA in the last administration. He heard about this proposal, and here's what he said. They're going to run NASA into a very deep ditch if they proceed with this kind of savagery. His words, not mine. He went on to say, if you savage NASA science, you have savaged our entire exploration program, and that will affect the human exploration program as well, which is essentially, Senator, what you said. We've seen over the last 3 months an effort to essentially disassemble American enterprise, American government, American progress, by a group that knew everything about how they were going to do it and do it quickly. But as in this instance, and almost every instance in which they've undertaken, they do not know the consequences. And the consequences will be dire, as Senator Nelson said, with respect to Goddard Space Flight Center. This center is the envy of one of our greatest competitors, China. This enterprise is going to be critical as we compete with China in science and in space and in technology. To disassemble this, to cut it in half, and Senator Van Hollen made the point that we were going to abandon the investment that's already been made. Now let me say what that investment is. $3 billion has gone into the Roman telescope and the look for habitable worlds, Senator. What they're cutting is $600 million, which is the completion of this program, as Senator Van Hollen said, on budget. What a penny wise and pound foolish that decision would be. I am going to urge, Senator Van Hollen's going to urge, and Glenn Ivey is certainly going to be leading the pack for the Congress not to do this, and I project the Congress is not going to do this because it makes no economic sense, it makes no competitive sense, it makes no national security sense for them to do this. The people who are doing this know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. We need to make sure that America continues to be a leader in space, a leader in culture, a leader in economics. This center is absolutely critical to be able to make the further investment to complete a project, which, as you said, was on budget and so far on time. So I'm pleased to join my two colleagues, Senator Van Hollen and Congressman Ivey. We are going to fight this with every fiber in our bodies because America, future success, and national security depend upon it. Now let me yield to my dear colleague, Glenn Ivey, who, while a new member of Congress, as a member, worked for the Congress for many, many years.
What you're listening to there are senators, many of them lawmakers, I should say, senators and congressmen from the state of Maryland outside of the Goddard Space Center. I got to work on my geography here for all the NASA locations. I first said Florida, of course, that's the Kennedy Space Center down in Florida. I should know that. I grew up in Maryland. Goddard was down the road, just northeast of Washington, D.C. They are addressing cuts to some of the programs there at the Goddard Space Center in Florida. Let's listen back live to the lawmakers outside the nation's capital.
Are we going to decide that we want to continue to maintain the lead in science and technology over the rest of the world or not? Because right now, China's right at our heels. They're pushing resources, investment, far beyond what the United States is doing. In fact, the current administration is cutting back on the kind of investments we need to be making. Here at NASA, they're cutting back. At universities across the country, including Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland right down the street, they're cutting back. For grants and scholarships so people can continue moving forward and getting their educations so they can go into these fields, they're cutting back. And if they keep cutting back, we're going to fall behind. So it's critical for us to make sure we move forward with these investments, because we're going to need to make sure that we are in the lead when we move forward. If you look back at what's going on right now, based on the investments we made before here at NASA, yes, University of Maryland, the incubator they've got, the spinoffs they've done, the quantum computing company, IonQ, is right down the street. AI is critical to where we're going to go. We don't know how it's all going to play out, but we know that we've got to keep doing the work and the research and the study so we can find and make those new discoveries and make sure we stay in the lead. So I'm urging the Trump administration to rethink this cut for the reasons that you've heard from my two colleagues here. It's devastating for NASA, devastating for science, and devastating for the United States of America. So with that, I'll stop for questions.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen that in the proposal, but if you look at the impact of their proposed cuts, it would decimate the mission of NASA Goddard and would have all the harmful consequences that we've talked about. You know, we asked some of the scientists what would be the impact of a 50% cut on the science budget, and their answer was it would actually go far beyond that in terms of just being the death bell for NASA Goddard.
This is located in Prince George's County. What is the impact for local residents? And if you could also comment on the Salvadoran president saying he will not return Omar Garcia.
Well, let me take that last question last after we focus on questions here. But I want to, it would clearly have a harmful impact on our local economy, regional economy, and all the people who work at NASA. But I want to stress the fact that it will have really harmful impacts for every single American, for all the reasons we've said, because the work they do here is essential to our success in space and our success when it comes to innovation and technology. But let me turn it over to the individual who so well represents this congressional district, Glenn Ivey.
Thank you. I mean, one of the things to keep in mind now is that we live in a global economy. And so when they talk about making cuts and shutting down offices here in the United States, I guess they're just assuming that people will move to other NASA installations, but that's not necessarily the case. And one of the articles I saw over the week, it was written by a young scientist who's coming out of the PhD program. He's starting to look overseas. Him and his classmates are looking at going to Europe and India and other places because there's more stability there, there's more funding that's going into these support for these positions. And it's hard to build a career in science and technology in the United States already. So making it even harder means we're pushing them away. True for corporations as well. There's a lot of businesses that do work directly connected to NASA. In fact, the only reason they're here is because of the NASA Goddard installation. We need to make sure we support those. And they also create an ecosystem that's really beneficial with the University of Maryland, with the Army Research Lab, with Johns Hopkins APL right up the street, NSA and cybersecurity. We have all these assets that are working together, doing great work on behalf of the American people. If you start breaking the components out, it undermines the great work that they've been doing to keep America safe and keep us in the front of technological advancements.
Let me just add just a short word. Goddard is one of the largest aggregations of engineers, scientists, and technologists in the world. The thought that you can break this up and year by year do something and don't do something. As I said, $3 billion has already been invested in Roman. Extraordinary important project. They're cutting $600 million, which will finish the project. So they're going to leave on the table. And as Glenn Ivey said, there are literally, I want to say thousands, but certainly in the high hundreds of individuals throughout the country that work in collaboration with Goddard. They provide materials for Goddard, they provide expertise for Goddard, they provide people who can come here to learn what Goddard does. So this is not just about federal employees or just about Goddard Space Flight Center. This is about a nationwide effort to have a premier earth sciences operation, looking back not only at Earth, but also looking at perhaps other Earths, and looking far back in time to see what that can teach us about how we make ourselves safer, more successful, and more healthy.
Senator Van Hollen, I'm curious. I noticed that the cuts apply to here in Maryland.
While we continue to listen to some of the lawmakers, senators, and the like speaking outside of Maryland's Goddard Space Center about some of the possible cuts and what could be lost in NASA research and the U.S. as a global leader in the search for life and search for other habitable planets out there, we are going to take you around the rest of what we're finding here on planet Earth on this Monday afternoon on the Wisconsin Live Desk. First and foremost, so this is outside of the nation's capital. We also have an eye on the White House this morning as you're seeing the flags of both the United States and the flags of El Salvador there following a key meeting today between President Donald Trump and the president of El Salvador, President Bukele. On Monday, much of the discussion, at least from the media's side of things, the questioning has been on whether or not the Central American country would return Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man who was, the administration admits, wrongfully deported to El Salvador last month. The Supreme Court has ruled that the Trump administration must facilitate Abrego Garcia's return to Maryland, while administration officials emphasize that he was sent to a notorious gang prison in the country, actually a citizen of El Salvador, and that the U.S. has no say in his future. President Bukele of El Salvador has been a vital partner for the Trump administration in these ongoing deportation efforts, and he has said that he does not have the power to return him to the United States. So we'll see if we can catch some of the exit there of President Bukele following a series of meetings between El Salvador leaders and the Trump administration today at the White House. In the meantime, a live look at downtown Milwaukee as we give you a shot there. Beautiful day on 414 Day here in the city of Milwaukee as we get you ready for all of the rest of the things to come on this 414 Day, April 14th, of course. We can also tell you that our own Jason Calvi is hard at work. We're about to join him with a series of cuts to the CDC that are affecting the lead crisis here in Milwaukee Public Schools. That is his story for the day. But in the meantime, on the way to that story, he swung by City Hall, which we saw a live shot of there, to give us this, the 414 flag unfurled this morning at Milwaukee City Hall here on Milwaukee Day. We'll check in with Jason on the other side of this break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Defmaw here, joining you from the Wisconsin Live Desk in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we cover anything happening around the city, the state, the region, the country, as it happens live here on the desk. And on this Monday, that means 414 Day here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Another shot of our beautiful downtown there with the sun shining, blue skies, and a beautiful day for all the festivities. But the news doesn't stop, especially on a day like today, as we will be joined now by our own Jason Calvi, who is covering quite the story today on Milwaukee Day of all days. This would be the ongoing discussions between Milwaukee Public Schools officials and the health department in the city about how to deal with the lead crisis, Jason, at different schools throughout Milwaukee, and as it pertains to what we're seeing nationally when it comes to funding cuts and issues with the CDC specifically. So as we bring you in here, Jason, lay the groundwork for us. Where are you today? Why are you focused on that school behind you, and where do we stand with this request for help?
So, Carl, this is La Follette School. It's one of those schools in MPS that were closed because of dangerous levels of lead. So you can see right now, it's a normal school day right here in April, but right now there's no students in this school. The school is not empty. We've seen a few administrators going into the school today, but the parking lot is pretty empty on what would normally be a pretty busy day here at the school. So this is one of those schools that has closed because of dangerous levels of lead inside the building. We saw pictures of peeling paint and cracking paint at some of these schools that were closed in the district, or the MPS, the Public Health Department in Milwaukee. Milwaukee Public Health Department actually decided that the best bet would be to close the schools down as they go through the remediation and the work to really get rid of that lead danger inside of these school buildings here. And so what happened was the Milwaukee Health Department asked the CDC to send some of their experts on this issue of lead poisoning and lead remediation, and really the data folks at the national level to come in and share their expertise here. There was a program at the CDC that would do this. These teams would go out and help deal with problems as they pop up across the country. But the Milwaukee Health Department got a note back from the CDC, and we're going to read directly from it. It says, "I sincerely regret to inform you that due to the complete loss of our lead program, we will be unable to support you with this request." So Milwaukee asked for staff members, a team to come from the CDC to come here to Milwaukee to help with the data and surveillance and really helping to put the plan in place to give that expertise from the national folks. And the CDC said that their whole lead program was completely eliminated. This is something that was triggered April 1st, where the federal government made major changes to major cuts across the Health and Human Services Department, and that included the CDC. And according to these letters that I acquired from the CDC to the Milwaukee Health Department, those experts have been laid off. They're out of their jobs now.
From what you understand, Jason, from talking to experts with the Milwaukee Health Department or other officials, was this a relatively common thing to happen, that before these cuts were made to the CDC overall, that a local department like Milwaukee could reach out to a federal agency like the CDC, receive help to work through what has proven to be a crisis here throughout Milwaukee Public Schools? Was that kind of standard until they were told that actually would not be possible this time?
Right. Well, I asked the health commissioner today, Milwaukee Health Commissioner, I asked, has the department, have you ever had these teams come in from the federal level before? And he said he couldn't remember, didn't think that happened. So, but they do, they would come out if there was a measles outbreak or some sort of other outbreak. These surveillance, really, they're like detectives. They go out and they have expertise at the national level, and they can come out and really help at the local level. So these teams have been going out to other problem places for other issues, but now, as of April 1st, some of these members, and including what the letter says, here's a complete loss of our lead program, gone now.
Any idea yet how that changes the timeline locally? As you're standing in front of La Follette School, of course, parents, students, teachers all want to get back to work once it's safe to do that. Does the fact that they will not be receiving assistance from the CDC change the timeline on when they can get some of these schools back open again and kind of work through this process locally?
Yeah, Carl, that was my question to the health director as well, health commissioner as well today, was how is this lack of getting the CDC teams? They were expecting about 4 or 5 staff members to come here to Milwaukee from Atlanta to be on the ground in Milwaukee, and then there would also be assistance with other team members still at CDC headquarters in Atlanta. So I asked, how does this change that timeline of testing? Because they really want to have all the kids tested to see if any more children have high levels, dangerous high levels of lead in their blood, and they want to have those tests done. And so the health commissioner didn't really say it was going to impact the timeline, but you got to figure it will if they were 4 other staff members dedicated to this from the national level coming in. You would imagine that would help speed things up, but really what he was saying was it would really help with those technical questions that might develop as they're doing the testing on a student to figure out, okay, what do we need to do moving forward with this particular case if there are more cases of children testing for high levels in the future here.
And just to clarify, Jason, because I know so much has changed since the beginning of the second Trump administration now in January, and of course the Department of Government Efficiency, we've seen all these sweeping cuts across the federal government. Is it believed that those cuts to the CDC were directly related to what has been happening at a number of different departments when it comes to Doge and Elon Musk's group coming in and kind of cutting the federal workforce across the board?
Yeah, that is my understanding talking to city leaders, is that those cuts April 1st were part of these cuts you've been seeing in other departments as well, part of that government efficiency. And that's one of the questions that we're really looking at here. I'm really trying to get back in touch with the Department of Health and Human Services as well as the CDC to figure out exactly what happened here, what the rationale was for these cuts. And I know that the health secretary at the national level, Secretary Kennedy, was asked about this question in early April about the cuts to the lead program at the national level at the CDC, and he said that seemed to be something that probably shouldn't have been cut, but here we are, what is it now, almost 10 days later since he last spoke, and the health department in Milwaukee says there's nobody at the CDC that they can talk to.
And meanwhile, La Follette and a couple other schools in the Milwaukee Public School District remain closed as they try to deal with this. Jason, last question for you. I know you're in the middle of your reporting for the day, but have you heard from parents at any of these schools at this point yet? Or I know you've been working kind of on the more government and official side of things, but have you heard from parents about any of the frustrations with trying to figure out childcare, trying to figure out what's happening to their kids as all of their what would be a normal school day gets tossed up in the air kind of?
Yep. Well, interesting enough, Carl, that when these schools get shut down, they actually do have other schools that the children go to. So every one of these schools that's been shut down, in the letter from the MPS, the health department, when they announce the closure, they'll say now the students at this particular school will be going to this other campus. So it does require potentially, if it's a parent drop-off, then it requires maybe a little bit extra time in the morning to get to school to drop them off, because it might be a little bit farther away than their current location that might be right here in the neighborhood, for example. So that's the big change for these families. They are still going to school. They're just at a different location right now.
Yeah, and having to adapt to some of those changes as well. All right, Jason, we'll let you get back to it out there at La Follette School for us. Thank you very much for bringing us the latest. Some of the impacts cuts at the federal level having here in Milwaukee as the ongoing lead crisis continues for Milwaukee Public Schools. You can look for Jason's reporting later today on Fox Local. Jason, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl.
And as we let him get back to his work, we are going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk and see what we find for you on the other side of the break. There was still that press conference going on outside of Maryland's Goddard Space Flight Center. We'll see if that's continuing or anything else we can find for you here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. A beautiful shot of downtown Milwaukee on this Monday afternoon.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk here on a day where the city of Milwaukee takes center stage. Of course, we think on 414 Day, April 14th, it is a day to celebrate all things Milwaukee, what makes this city so great, as we give you a live look at American Family Field with the roof open. Certainly one of the gems of the Milwaukee area. On this 414 Day, the Brewers are in fact at home. They'll be hosting the Detroit Tigers tonight, a 6:40 first pitch, as the Brewers 8-8 so far, 500 to start off the season, coming off their NL Central title in back-to-back years. 5-2 at home though, so they've given the home crowd plenty to cheer for over the early part of this season. Now, in the meantime, we were going to try to show you a live picture of the racing sausages. You know what? This was going to be such a great transition, and then the racing sausages apparently are taking a break. So we're just getting a live look at feet right now. This is from Potawatomi Casino, so I'll tell you a little bit about what we're expecting at the casino and hotel as we give you another live shot of American Family Field, of the many different 414 festivities happening throughout the city today. Potawatomi is indeed throwing their own huge 414 Day party. They say this is the biggest and best party in the entire city, a day-long bash to celebrate throughout the casino. There's food, there's drink specials, and some of Milwaukee's favorite things, the racing sausages. We just saw, I believe it was the bratwurst going around as they are arrived at the casino, the famous racing sausages, including Bernie Brewer, the mascot, there as well. It's all part of the party. Let's get them. Show us the sausages. Our photojournalist, Eric Litzheim, is on the job for us today with all 5 of the racing sausages, along with Bernie Brewer, stopping by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Now, I'm not sure if they're allowed to gamble or what exactly the rules are when it comes to sausages. They'd be great, though, at like craps or something, right? Something to get the crowd up, get them going. There is going to be, if you want to go and check it out today, still get down to Potawatomi as you see some of the fans sporting their jerseys already there. There's a Milwaukee 414 Day t-shirt. You can get that at the promotion stage there at the casino. There's a hat as well. If you place any bet on the Brewers game before the game tonight against the Tigers, again, that 6:40 first pitch, you get a free hat. So win or lose, you come out a winner of a free hat if you place that bet at Potawatomi tonight. There's also a self-serve kiosk ticket. They make it easy for you at that new, relatively new sports book. While the fans are getting their pictures there, some of the Potawatomi Rewards card, you can get a limited edition Brewers-themed card, program free to join as well. And here's the best part. The sausages are going to participate in a race. That's what they do, right? They love competition. They have to be part of the action, even if it's not at the actual ballpark. They're going to have a 414-inch race inside Potawatomi Hotel and Casino today. A 414-inch race for a 414 Day here in Milwaukee. We can bring in our producer, Delaney Reed. I'm going to put you on the spot. 414 inches. How long is that in feet, Delaney? How good's your math?
My math is not very good. I feel like it's maybe 4,000 inches, around there.
Wait, no, 414 inches into feet. What do you think it is? If you're just Googling it right now, don't feel guilty. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, I Googled it. 34.5 feet.
No, she didn't, people. She's just that good at math right off the top. Delaney is correct. 34.5 feet. All right, glad to know we're on the same page here. Neither of us were apparently math experts in school, which is why we ended up in journalism. But you could end up being this guy, Bernie Brewer, or the person behind the lens right now. Our photojournalist, Eric Litzheim, has the choice assignment on this 414 Day, hanging with Bernie, hanging with the sausages. There's the Polish, of course, the hot dog, the bratwurst, all of them. My go-to would always be the chorizo, although I hear word on the street is that's the hardest to win because the hat is such a weight displacement for you when you're running. Occasionally you'll see a fall from the big guy. That might be because of the top heaviness of the chorizo there at the far left of your screen. All of the fun at Potawatomi today for 414 Days. We give you another live look at the ballpark as well. You can see how windy it is actually today. That camera is bouncing around and shaking at the stadium, but the roof is open. It's pretty nice. 60 degrees already. You see in the bottom left, the sun shining for the city of Milwaukee on this 414 Day, and the Brewers will try to get a win, get above 500 again this season when they face the Detroit Tigers tonight at 6:40. Back to the sausages, because who doesn't love a look inside the casino? Oh, you know what? I should try to bring up some audio. Let's see what we can get in terms of the action out there.
I knew it was going to happen, and it happened.
Nope, never mind. No audio coming through. That was from another channel. My bad. All the fun that can happen here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as we check out the scene. Man, there are a lot of people celebrating 414 Day at the casino today. I guess it's because of some of the perks you can find. Just to run them through again. So they are going to host that shortest race they will do today. The one around the warning track is just a bit longer than the 34.5 feet that Delaney and I quickly did the math on right there. A 414-inch race coming. There you go. All things 414 on this day to celebrate Milwaukee and celebrate our great city here in southeastern Wisconsin. Some of the other fun you can have if you're heading out to Potawatomi, place a bet on the Brewers tonight before the game. You'll get a free hat. There's a number of other things you can do. You can get a 414 Day t-shirt as well by going to the promotion stage while supplies last. That started just at 1 o'clock, so no clue if they're all out at this point, but certainly could be. And besides that, there's plenty of other fun for the sausages and Bernie before they get themselves back over to the ballpark for the game tonight. That's a lot of work for our guys, all right? Keeping the people entertained at the casino. Our photojournalist, Eric Litzheim, apparently done with that. He is walking out. No, he's just getting a different shot there. This is the joy of joining a live feed. I don't even know if Eric knows that he's on the Wisconsin Live Desk right now, but there you go. The starting line, the sausages, and we'll see if we can catch the race for you as well when it starts over there at Potawatomi. Now, as we can do here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, this is the real joy. We can take you anywhere, right? So all the fun happening at Potawatomi right now, and then around the country as well. We'll see what we find, because wouldn't you know it, I was going to try to take you. There was apparently an earthquake in San Diego, and there was a helicopter over some of the scene. The southwestern part of California got rocked this morning, or their time this morning. Oh, there we go. Let's pop it up. Here's a helicopter view over San Diego and parts of Southern California this morning as we are getting aerials from one of our affiliates out there. San Diego, California, a strong earthquake is what many in California, in the southern part of the state, woke up to this morning and experienced as part of their morning here. But unfortunately, that feed keeps going in and out. So we'll try to catch it and get you some information. Oh, here's something else that happens on the fly. Hey, remember when the roof was open like 2 minutes ago? The roof is closing right now at American Family Field. I guess maybe for temperature, not exactly sure, because it's a beautiful day with the sun. Maybe it's for the wind, too. The pitchers don't want too much blowing out of the ballpark, right? Don't want to turn it into a home run park. But there you go. It's basically happening as we watch right now. And as any Brewer fan knows, it does not take long. They can do it between innings if the rain is on the way, and it's a pretty quick operation there. But I don't know if we've ever caught it like that, just live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Closing as it happens. Quite a contraption, that clamshell. The only retractable roof like it out there, this unique design that they developed and kind of gives that architectural beauty to what was Miller Park and now American Family Field. You know what they should do? See if they can close the roof faster than these guys can do a race. Now, given the fact that the race is quite short, I would give it up for the sausages and for Bernie. But there you go, the roof almost closed at American Family Field. All right, we're having fun here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I should probably take a break, reset a little bit, figure out what we have for you on the other side, including trying to catch that race for you and all the fun here in Milwaukee on 414 Day. Joining you from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll be back after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, Carl Defmaw back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, hanging out with you on this Monday in Milwaukee on 414 Day. For those who were playing along at home, the roof is officially closed at American Family Field. Fun to watch it slowly close there. The Brewers play the Detroit Tigers tonight, starting up a series against Detroit at 6:40 this evening, so the roof, it appears, will be closed. I guess they could always open it back up again, but perhaps for temperature purposes as we get into nightfall here, keeping the roof closed and keeping the fans happy inside on this Monday. A couple different things we want to take you around to right now. First and foremost, that live view, again, we're getting aerials here from a partner station out in Southern California, KSWB, as you're seeing aerials from their helicopter after earthquakes rocked parts of Southern California, specifically in the San Diego area. Trying to get some info for you on if there was any damage really of note, but right now we're just getting those aerial views from that helicopter at sister station KSWB flying over parts of Southern California. And if we get news on anything of note, we will carry that for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. In the meantime, we want to get you out to the state of New York, which is dealing with, as you see on the right side of your screen there, that's the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, who is hosting a press conference today dealing with domestic violence and the response and support for victims in that state. A serious topic, but we want to listen into that live right now happening on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
We're all sitting there together to understand what happened. Where did the system fail? And it was a 16-year-old girl we talked about in upstate New York, and she was tragically killed by her boyfriend. And many of her friends in school said, we knew something was wrong. They just didn't know how to help her. That's why New York State, we're doing some innovative work. I'm so proud that we're able to be in junior high schools and high schools with our relationship abuse prevention program. Imagine if we can engage young people as we do, and identify those signs of domestic violence and talk about where to get help. That community is so powerful. I've been around for a minute. It gives me hope to say one day we will end domestic and gender-based violence. We've also turned our attention to those who are harming people through our abusive partner intervention work. Accountability is always at the center, but we've heard from so many victims that they're not always ready to leave, and we know we have to respond. And if we don't engage with those individuals, they will only go on to harm another family. So as we continue to understand the many risk factors that impact survivors seeking safety, we know we need to deepen and expand our work with our partners in the field of government to ensure survivors have options to the various barriers they face. So I'm always very careful when I talk about reform, but these risk factors are pronounced. And that's why you see me on stage with the governor, with Kelly, with so many other people talking about why we need to make these reforms. Our solution must also include support for survivors as they navigate the legal system. URI centers survivor as they navigate the legal system. When a survivor seeks justice through the criminal legal system, they should be confident. They should be confident knowing that the system is set up to deliver it to them. That means that cases and orders of protections are not dropped on technicalities. We just cannot drop these cases on technicalities. Survivors are failed so many times, first by the person they believe love them, and then at times by the systems that are not always set up to support them. So right now, we do have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to strike a better balance, and we must seize this opportunity. I'm committed, for one, and I hope you are, to continue to work with the governor, OPDV, and all stakeholders to support survivors by implementing the findings contained in the reports being released today. Our work is so vital, and our work is unwavering. So we need to make that unwavering commitment that we must never allow these technicalities to get in the way of survivors being able to seek safety. So I want to borrow the tagline and say, let's get it done. And I want you to join me saying, Governor Williams. Thank you.
And that concludes today's program. At this point, we ask that all attendees please make their way to the elevator bay. Thank you for attending. We wish you a safe trip home, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Catching the tail end there of a discussion of domestic violence in New York State. The governor, Kathy Hochul, was on scene there along with providers who work with some of the survivors of domestic violence as well. Catching the tail end of that there for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll get you back to that helicopter in the sky above Southern California right now as we are getting this live picture courtesy of sister station out there, KSWB, who is providing aerials from a helicopter after parts of Southern California were rocked by an earthquake today. It's, of course, 1:15, 1:17 now here in the Midwest, in the Central Time Zone. Morning out there still in Southern California, and trying to get word on just how bad some of the damage was. But even so, even in an area that is used to earthquakes, it's not uncommon out in California. Still quite something you're not expecting to start your day with necessarily, as we continue to see, it appears so far so good, at least from what this helicopter has been able to capture. Traffic at least moving smoothly on that road that they're flying above right there. In the meantime, another live look at American Family Field as we can try to take you back to Potawatomi Hotel and Casino as well. Our photojournalist Eric Litzheim was popping around with the racing sausages. There's a shot of the 414 sign and Bernie Brewer in the background. How great is that? You show up to the casino and you're like, I'm just going to play some games, play some bets perhaps, and there's Bernie. Now, hopefully Bernie is good luck, of course, as part of the 414 Day celebrations today. You can at least win this. You can get a free hat if you place a bet on the Brewers game. Any bet on the Brewers game against the Tigers tonight, that'll net you a free hat leading up until first pitch tonight, which is at 6:40 at American Family Field. Hey, that's Eric's arm right there, and he has a tattoo as well, which we're now learning live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So I will get back to American Family Field while I believe he is getting the camera light up and running there for some interviews that he'll be doing at Potawatomi about some of the fun. But there is so much else that you can check out around Milwaukee today, including downtown Milwaukee. Let me pop this up real quick. The 414 flag unfurled at Milwaukee City Hall. That happened this morning as part of a celebration outside of the halls and offices for the mayor, the common council, so many other government officials here in Milwaukee. Today on April 14th, that is what greets anyone going to City Hall in downtown Milwaukee. Well, the kind of greeting that you don't necessarily want, not for the Brewers, but for another former sports leader here in the city of Milwaukee. Let's check in with this. Breaking news this morning, but still sending shockwaves throughout the NBA. A couple hours later, Shams Charania, the reporter for an NBA insider for ESPN, broke the news that the Phoenix Suns fired head coach Mike Budenholzer after his first and only season with the team. A very disappointing season for the Suns, who went just 36-46, despite having what I believe to be a historic payroll in the NBA. Yeah, the largest payroll in league history belonged to the Phoenix Suns, and they do not even make the playoffs or even the play-in tournament. And doing that with a roster of stars, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. Durant was listed in some trade talks possibly before the NBA trade deadline, but ends up staying in Phoenix. Well, now an offseason of change once again, as the former head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks is now also the former head coach of the Phoenix Suns. Coach Bud, after taking time off following his firing here in Milwaukee, had accepted a 5-year, $50 million contract with the Suns. He has a winning pedigree, of course, all those years of success in Milwaukee, culminating with the NBA championship in 2021, but it lasts only 1 year down in the desert as the Suns just 36-46, 10 games under 500 this year. Despite all that money spent on their stars, it does not lead to much in Coach Bud's first and only year with Phoenix. We're going to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I'll be back on the other side of this 120-second break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh joining you once again here, 1:23 on your Monday afternoon. We can take you anywhere around the state, around the country for the news as it matters, as it happens. And this is a trial we're going to bring you right now that has certainly received a lot of national attention. Joining us, this is a court TV feed from, I believe, Arizona. The trial for the so-called doomsday mom, Vallow Daybell, who is representing herself right now in the murder conspiracy trial of her fourth husband. Shaking up the courtroom, there have been fiery exchanges during testimony. That testimony continues today as prosecutors are accusing Vallow Daybell of conspiring with her late brother, Alex Cox, to murder her late husband, Charles Vallow, and benefit from a $1 million life insurance policy before marrying another man, Chad Daybell, in 2019. This trial in Arizona does come nearly 2 years after she and her current husband were already convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the 2019 murders of her two youngest children, a 7-year-old and a 16-year-old, as well as the murder of Chad Daybell's first wife. So honestly, a complete mess across the board. I think that's safe to say. Let's listen in now to, this is the trial, Vallow Daybell charged with killing her late husband, Charles Vallow. Let's listen to testimony.
Blood collected to be tested for toxicology.
If we can get it, yes.
Was that done here?
It was.
Were there any drugs found in Charles Vallow's system?
No drugs were reported positive on toxicology.
No alcohol found?
No.
Based upon your autopsy of Leland Charles Anthony Vallow, what did you determine was the cause of death?
Multiple gunshot wounds.
Thank you. The state has no other questions, Your Honor.
Cross.
Dr. Baumgartner, you did a toxicology report in this case?
I sent blood for toxicology, yes.
And what did you test for? What substances did you test for in that toxicology report?
There are 16 or 20 substances that are tested. Typical drugs of abuse, a limited amount of therapeutic medications, and then alcohol, methanol, acetone, and isopropanol, I believe.
But not generally like someone's regular medications, like for high blood pressure or something like that?
That would not show up on this test, no.
And if someone was taking testosterone, that wouldn't show up on there?
It would not, no.
Human growth hormone would not show up on there?
No.
So just basically the substances that you mentioned?
Yes.
Are typically tested. And then if law enforcement were to ask you to test for something specific, then you would do that as well. Is that correct?
It depends.
On what?
The case type, what their request was, if it's even possible.
Okay.
As cross-examination continues there, one of the experts on the witness stand in the Vallow Daybell murder trial, already convicted of some murder. This is for the killing along with her, conspiring with her late brother to kill her late husband, not her current husband, who was also convicted of murder. We're going to try to end the Wisconsin Live Desk for you here on a little bit of a lighter note. It is afterwards 414 Day here in the city of Milwaukee. We want to take you around AmFam Field, the site of the Milwaukee Brewers, who do play the Detroit Tigers tonight. But that is far from the only thing you can do in this city, as we'll pop around some of the different events and things happening for you on this downtown. Let me pull up one other thing for you. There we go. Learning how to use the buttons, right? It's the joy of doing the Wisconsin Live Desk. You get to do this on the fly with us here. Oh, I just got word. It is almost race time. With 2 minutes to go on the show, will they get the race done in time? Let me try to pop this up for you. From Potawatomi Hotel and Casino, the Racing Sausages, stepping to the line. Bratwurst, getting some light stretching in. Got to loosen up those hamstrings. It appears Hot Dog wants to get the hip flexors loose as well. These guys take this seriously for what is going to be all of a 34.5-foot race. That would be 414 inches in honor of 414 Day, lining up here at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. This is the fun that you can have on the Wisconsin Live Desk. As let me try one other thing to try to get you some of the audio from what we're hearing at Potawatomi right now. Hold on. There we go. Now we can listen to the fellas, see the excitement, the energy, the thrill of competition at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Now, I don't think I'm allowed to gamble, but if you're watching at home on the Wisconsin Live Desk, maybe place a small wager for your own good as Bernie Brewer gets ready to drop the hand. And they're off. Oh my goodness. And just like that, it's over. Just like that, it was over. Was that Bratwurst? Yeah, I believe that was Bratwurst. The winner in the 414-inch race at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. To the victors go the spoils, and that would be the adoration of the masses at Milwaukee's Potawatomi Hotel Casino. We'll see if he can pull off the double billing. This is like when people race in Charlotte and then go do the race in Indy in one day. See if he can win at Potawatomi and then win tonight at American Family Field. Man, what a day on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks a lot for joining. Hope you have a great rest of your...
Enough to cause that pressure, then it would have caused a shored wound to both exits.
I would expect that, yes.
But you didn't see that here?
No.
Only one shored wound.
Correct.
The other exit, not at all.
No.